Of the FBC virtual channel, and you're tuning into a very unique video covering Vectary and its marriage to Blender. And when I say that, I'm just really joking with that. I'm trying to have fun in terms of using my keywords for my live streams and stuff like that, but pretty much you can marry the two software together and in conjunction using something like a MB Lab, which is a character generator where you can generate humanoid characters or avatars, humanoid in 3D format. So that means you can create 3D humans using something like the MB Lab. MB Lab is also known as Manuel Bastioni Lab, but this is the newer, more upgraded version. Someone decided to go in and pick up where Manuel Bastioni, the actual developer and the creator of the MB Lab, this other person decided to pick up where he left off because he stopped actually working on the Manuel Bastioni Lab, and also he was part of the Make Human team. I don't know if y'all folks ever heard of Make Human, but I can go in and show y'all folks that real quick. The Make Human community is what it's known as today, but it used to be known as Make Human in terms of the software itself. So now they have community assets, they have many different things that you can do to create 3D humans. If you're into trying to generate human characters and you don't know how to do it yourself, maybe through sculpting or off of a base mesh of a human model. So these tools are most definitely useful to you, and I would highly recommend for y'all folks to try to learn how to use them because they're very user friendly and very simple to use. MB Lab is tied into Blender. Make Human is an actual software itself, so you have to download this to your computer. Now, Blender is also a software that you have to download to your computer. So certain software you're going to have to get onto your computer to get it to work in conjunction with each other. Now, Vectary is something very unique because it's a web-based 3D software modeling tool. So you can use it to merge your models in, and the only way to do it, actually, you're gonna have to have I believe you have to have a premium account on Vectary in order to import your models into Vectary. So I'm active right now as a premium member because I was more of a veteran user on Vectary. So I started in Vectary when Vectary first started as a beta tester type, and the longer term you're with something, some sort of tools, you end up getting the fringe benefits, so to speak. So I got the benefit of being upgraded for free until March 23rd. So I pretty much got like a 30-day upgrade. So right now I have 10 more days left. So that's why I'm still covering Vectary. A lot of folks are asking me, why you're not going back and forth or going back to the MB Lab, why you're not using MB Lab anymore. Well, that's why I decided to also create this video to show y'all folks that I do still use it, but right now I'm covering Vectary because I like to cover multiple tools in 3D instead of just covering one thing. So we're gonna marry Vectary to Blender, so y'all folks are gonna get to see it. Hopefully my computer doesn't crash and freeze, which it has been happening lately a great deal, and my live streams end up getting frozen, so I get locked out of my live. So if that happens, I'll try to come and bring it up again. So usually it happens when I'm trying to do too many things on the screen. But before we go over to do all that, it may lock up or whatever. Before we go to Blender to merge differing things and make things happen magically, we're gonna go and look at some test renders, and these are renders that I played around with this morning. I'll show you. This is from Vectary. So Vectary is most definitely something you don't want to count out. You want to try it out and test it out and have fun with it because it's very simple to make things happen. And Blender takes a lot more time because you have to have more knowledge base. With Vectary, it doesn't require that much knowledge to be able to pull off a really high quality render. And if you have the 3D assets at hand already from a third-party website or third-party tool / software, you can easily merge it on as long as, like I said, you have that premium level to import. So here goes my test render from yesterday, and this one looks pretty decent. It's more of a spotlight type of setting showcased on top of this background with the character posed in this angle and position, as you can see. And then I put like more like a house background, but it didn't have any furniture in it, so I decided to put a bed in there to see how it would look with the bed. And then I changed the lighting perspective and angle and positioning, and I also played with the background colors and stuff like that. So you can do those kind of things, and it would make for good footage for like YouTube, like I'm doing right now. So if you want to make really nice YouTube videos to showcase your work and what you can do, what's possible from your creative standpoint, you most definitely can use these type of tools. And that's where you can benefit, because by showcasing them to people, what you can come up with, you can actually monetize it if you wanted to, and maybe earn something from it because people like what you're coming up with. And over time, you can grow a follower base or a fan base for your art in a digital sense. You becoming more of a creative artist, 3D artist type person. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, you can really take it to another level and do different things with it. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm trying my best, to be as creative as possible and to be as consistent as possible with my learning process. And that's the whole thing. You got to learn, something if you want to get somewhere, pretty much. So here goes some differing, like I said, poses, different angles. This is a close-up shot that I could use for Instagram, and it probably will be liked a great deal because of the fine details on the textures. So when you get to creating 3D models, you have to also think about the texturing and the layering of the textures, how the textures contour, how the lighting hits the texture and makes for the contours of the face and the shape to turn out to look higher and higher quality, stuff like that. So this model, like I talked about in my previous session yesterday, was created on the Autodesk character generator tool. So pretty cool stuff. I'm just minimizing. Actually, I want to get rid of them so it reduces the amount of data on my screen, so I don't end up suffering from a crash, because my computer has too many things going on. So I showcased that part. I just wanted y'all folks to see that. Here goes the Autodesk character generator tool. I highly recommend for folks to try it out. If you want to get the free version, it gives you the ability to do what I just did in terms of creating that character. But if you want to go into higher scales, it's up to you. They have subscriptions, stuff like that. And this is not an ad for it. This is just basically showing y'all folks the tool that I was able to use and giving them credit, because without them I wouldn't be able to create that character. So with that being said, let's go off on something along the lines of using the MB Lab. So say you wanted to use this, and how does it work per se? Well, basically you have to use Blender, and you have to go for the download to get this onto Blender. So once you download it, you go to the download, you try to go for the version that is available for that particular version of Blender. So the particular version of Blender that I'm using is known as Blender 2.80 beta. So this is the one that I would have to go for the download. If I went for the 2.79b version of Blender, then I would go for the upper download here, which is MB Lab 1.6.5. But I'm not interested in that one. I want to showcase how I'm able to do certain things on Blender 2.80 beta. So I would click that tab, and then it will go in and try to download it. And then I would get a zip folder. So sometimes it will fail. It doesn't matter. Just keep trying and try to save it if it fails, if the download tries to fail. And even up here, it may fail up here too. So I don't know if that happens to you on your computer. See, it says failed. You just keep hitting that little circle or little round arrow and keep trying and keep trying, keep trying, keep trying if it doesn't work. And eventually it should be able to go through. I already got it on my computer, but I'm just showing y'all folks what I have to go through sometimes in order to get things to work, because they may be acting funny, or it may not function the way that the developer intended it to function, or whatever the case may be. So sometimes you may experience that with zip folders and stuff like that, and files that are downloaded from the internet through your web browser. So this is Mozilla Firefox I'm using, and that's something that, like I said, I experience a great deal of time, and most definitely with these type of software, MB Lab stuff, or any kind of add-ons for Blender, I end up having this problem. So I'm not going to show y'all folks the fact that it will work. I'm just going to go and move over to Blender and bring up Blender pretty much, so you can see what I can create using the MB Lab software. So why did I stop actually utilizing it in my videos? I didn't necessarily just stop cold turkey, so to speak, but I haven't used it because I've been using other stuff, basically. So what we're gonna do, this is the actual tab here, which gives the add-on interface on Blender. So it pulls up the interface where you can actually start creating your characters on the fly, and it's very simple. You just choose, it says creation tools, select, you just choose what type of character you want. They have Caucasian, Asian, Afro female, Asian female, Caucasian male, Asian male. They have anime characters. They also have a elf and a dwarf. So you can play with all this stuff how you see fit. It's up to you. I'll just go with the realistic anime male. Let's see what we can come up with that. And then using inverse kinematics, this deals with the type of armature setup you want. In terms of rigging and animation, you have use basic muscles. I usually don't care about the muscle stuff too much because I just want to get a 2D shot of a render just to play with right now. I'm not interested in trying to create animations with it right now. So I can also use cycles materials or Eevee materials, but from my experience, using cycles is a much better selection because it gives you Eevee materials as well. If you use Eevee materials, you won't get the cycles materials, and what that refers to is the render engine and the textures that you're going to get for the actual character's skin and the shaders and things like that. It will give you the node data and place that into the actual the viewport interface, as well as when you pull up the shade editor. From here, you go to the menu options, and you go to the shader editor. You'll get all the node data that you need automatically built in through the MB Lab tool. So if you choose none of them and you create a character, you're not going to get any shaders for your rendering, and it'll just be a blank character that will look kind of gray. And you don't want a blank character because then rendering is going to look pretty bad. So you can also use Portrait Studio Lights, which is recommended, and what that pertains to is to get the character fully lit up in terms of the viewport area here, and you'll see the character will have not just the character, but hold on one second, let me move this over. The character will have a lot of lighting, and whatever in your scene, in your background, it will be lit up where you can see it stands out, and you can have a shadow, you can have a floor setting if you want to put in a floor, kind of like on Vectary where I have this scene. Let me back it out and try to show you the floor. There goes the floor there, and you'll have a shadow on the floor that's probably right down there. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a shadow right there. Let me move in closer. So the shadow effects will come into effect on Blender. If you want that, that's up to you. So if you want all of that stuff set up, just use the portrait lights and leave this checked. So I'll do it with the portrait lights, but I really don't like the portrait lights myself. I like to add my own lights, which Blender starts by default with a single lamp, and you can convert it into the sun, you can convert it into whatever lighting you want. Your camera will be this little it looks like a pyramid shape that's going in the side direction, going horizontally. I created this here, which is looks like a camera, which controls my virtual camera. So I can use this to control my virtual camera, but you're not going to have this when you start out Blender. You're going to usually just have a cube. So let's bring in the character. We're gonna create that character. You just click the create button after you have all this set up the way you want it, and it's that simple. It's gonna create the character and bring the character in where you see this 3D cursor right here, this little red thing. It usually should send it there. If not, it will send it in the origin point, which is 000 position on the screen. Actually, I believe most things that you try to import will go wherever you put the 3D cursor, but for some reason I guess the MB Lab is defaulted to the 000 position on the screen. Now the reason why I don't like these studio lights, see all these differing things, it looks really weird. It makes the startup look wild. It just looks too crazy. It looks like we have atoms running around the character, which it isn't atoms. This is just the, I believe these are spotlights. So since it's multiple spotlights, it's going to showcase the rounded circumference of where the spotlight is going to light up. So whoever developed this character, they put multiple spotlights in differing angles so that it could light up the character in every angle that they could possibly put in without having so many. They have 1, 2, 3, 4. So they only have 4 spotlights, but they angled them all the way around the character so it could light up the whole scene for the character. So let's just go over here in the upper right area where it says shading. We're going to reduce this. Actually, we'll hit the N key to hide that area. We'll also hit the T key to hide that, and we're going to drag this down, and you can see the character a little bit better. We can also get rid of overlays, meaning everything here we can hide by hitting this little button where it says overlays, and now all you're gonna see is the character. So I'm just gonna drag the character into position, and sometimes I get kind of screwy with the controls, but pretty much if you learn the basics to Blender animation, you'll be able to do everything that I'm doing, which is to rotate and zoom in, zoom out, pan, which is the shift key and the left click mouse button. Actually no, the shift key and the mouse scroll wheel, you just depress it and you can pan easy. The scroll wheel will give you the ability to zoom in and out like this, your mouse scroll wheel. And let's go to the rendered option. Now we're gonna render in Eevee because with cycles for some reason my computer will freeze, so we'll end up having a freeze on this actual this video that I'm talking to y'all with the live stream. So I just hit this rendered option, and now you can see what it will render out as in Eevee. And pretty much there we go. So the character is going to look like that. That's the character zoomed in. You can literally see a reflection on the eyes of the character. There's so many different things you can do with this. Just starting out, and I didn't even do anything. All I did was go here, go to the MB Lab, start out, and then click that create button. So with that being said, you know, there's a lot of things that you can do. Now I'm not going to do too much on Blender. I just wanted to create the character first, and then I want to export this character. I do want to have clothes on this character, so I did create a video about it in the past about being able to apply clothing to your 3D avatar / 3D humanoid character created through the MB Lab. But that video did have some complications because the very next day I found out that there's another version of the MB Lab where the clothing does not come built in the way it did in the previous version that they actually created this tool. So the newer version had an append option that you had to go through, and that made it a little bit more complicated. So I didn't want to create that video at that moment in time because I did not create prerequisites for it for people to understand, you know, all those steps that you have to go through, and it's a lot of different steps, and it makes it a little bit more complicated for the average person. So I decided to hold off on it, and I'm gonna launch that video at a different time. But I want to see here if I can actually pull off adding clothes, so we'll see what we can do. We have character library, We have random character generator. I'm not going to get into what all these things do because I did talk about some of this stuff in previous videos. So what I want to do is, let's see, finalize. I want to finalize the character and then try to get some clothes on the character. I believe that's when you can get the clothes on, because all I can do now is character library, random generator, which basically will generate different body types, body measures, rest pose. I can change his pose if I wanted to like I don't know what kind of pose that is. I pose. That's an A pose. This is a lambda pose. I don't know. I don't like that one. This is a T pose. And then let's go back to the A pose. So that's the A pose. Now you also should be able to enter the character's controls for posing. So let's bring back the overlays, and we're gonna click this little nub on the top of his head. That nub right there is the bone. It's a bone for the character's controls in terms of the armature / the rig that they have built into it, so you can animate the character's parts basically. So I'm gonna go over here in the material controls, not material controls, but the properties for the animation control, which is known as object data, and I'm gonna pull up, let's see, the ability to see what we're doing. Hold on one second. Here it is, viewport display. So we're gonna put in front. This used to be known as X-ray in the previous version of Blender. So we're gonna go to in front so you can see the bones, and now you can see what is, you know, hidden behind the actual flesh. So what we can do is we can repose it. I'm just gonna try to repose it so that the render looks really good. And also if I do decide to put some clothes on it, I don't have to adjust the clothes too much or whatever. So let's see what we could do. We're in pose mode, and we should be able to rotate. There we go. So we can rotate the arm, and I'll try to rotate the other arm just to get it in a different pose that I want it to be in. So, you know, these are the kind of things that you can play with once you start learning like animation and all that stuff. And let's do Control Z, or right click, use the right click mouse button, and let's see, I'm gonna shut off some of these lights. So we're gonna go to lamps. We're gonna shut these lamps off because it kind of gets confusing. Alright, so hold on one second, I'm trying to rotate, sorry about that. And we're gonna do rotate and just try to adjust it maybe like that. I don't know, I'm not the best at doing this animation stuff and pose settings. I usually use poses from Mixamo, the Mixamo website. Let's see, hold on, let's try to get my controls for rotation, and then we'll be able to do a little bit better movement. So to pull up controls, in terms of the toolbar, you just have to use your T key. It hides it and brings it up, and then you can bring up rotation, move, transform, stuff like that to get it to move around. So I needed that one because I need more like a targeted movement, and I'm not at a good angle. So hold on one second, maybe move it like that and then rotate it down. There we go. So I'm just trying to get like a normal pose where the character is just like standing at a normal angle and position. So let's get that like that, and maybe just move the arm this way, like he's shaking somebody's hand or something like that. I don't know. Alright, so now we'll put some lights back on. And alright, we got that going. And now we're gonna hide the bones. So we'll deselect in front, and now we'll scroll in to see what we got. We could have did everything in a different mode of shading, because generally when you're in the rendered, it's gonna really take up a lot of your GPU, but it's not taking up much because we're in Eevee, and Eevee is a real-time render engine, so it will do it pretty much automatically for you, and you don't have to worry too much about your computer processing it all the time, like going crazy, because that's what Cycles does. Cycles takes a lot of computer processing power and GPU basically, so you're gonna have to go through it trying to re-render and going crazy on the screen every time you make a move or change a function on the screen. So that's why I like to do everything in Eevee, and you get to see what you're actually doing. So now we got that done. Let's try to generate the character, or not generate the character, to finalize the character. When you finalize it, it's going to finalize the textures and every little detail that was created. We'll just give the character a name, call it test anime. Hopefully y'all folks saw that part. You can rewind the video if you didn't see that. All I did was just go to finalize, click that option, and then let me go back so you can see it. So I went to this tab here that said finalize, and then I clicked this finalize with textures button. That's all I did. It's not really hard to do. So we're gonna go test anime. What that is doing is actually creating texture folder / image files, and you can get rid of that .png because you don't need that. If you're trying to do it, seems like it's not letting me get rid of it. We're gonna go to finalize with textures. Well, I guess it needs it, I'm not sure, and we're gonna finalize it. But before we do that, we're gonna make sure we set it in a folder where we can find it. So I'm using this arrow here to go through my desktop computer. I have a tower, so I'm going through my desktop, my regular computer, and I'm gonna go into this is the Manuel Bastioni lab, so we'll just put it in a Blender folder. I usually choose and select what folders. Actually, let's go to the MB lab folder, Manuel Bastioni lab, and we'll put it in Manuel Bastioni lab, whatever. Finalize with textures and backup. So when you do all that, it basically stores that data, and it could be utilized as the detailed textures and stuff like that in other 3D asset software programs. So that's that part. I'll show y'all folks that part when we move over to Vectary. And generally your computer's gonna say not responding for Blender sometimes, every time you're trying to do something that is very labor intensive based on your GPU and everything. So what we're gonna do now that that's done, it gives me the options to do other things. So we can go here to the asset library, and we're gonna check to see what we have available, and it basically just gives you hair and hair. So this is where we were able to get the actual clothing in the previous versions, but now you can't get the clothing here, so you have to go to another location to get the clothing, and that I don't remember exactly for MB Lab. So it's probably from the GitHub area, so you got to go to GitHub and then find the actual assets. So for the clothing, let's see if I do recall when I did it already, but it wasn't that user-friendly as everything else seems to be regarding the MB Lab and stuff like that. So let's see, add-on updater. With GitHub, it's really simple to do certain things. You just go to clone or download if you have something that you're trying to get. It's not really that complex. Sometimes you have to copy a py file, which is a Python script file, and then convert it to a Python script file on your computer. That's for Blender add-ons and stuff like that. But I don't think I have to do that in this case. I didn't do it before, so I'm just trying to figure out where the actual clothing was placed. And I probably will have to go to a previous video that I created. I actually created a video for it, I think, but I didn't launch that video yet, because I did realize that they're going through different changes and they're trying to keep this thing running, and they're trying to update things. So I don't want to put up something that's not stable. I don't see anything referring to clothing. And I believe also I had a video that someone commented to me on that video that helped me to understand and basically pointed out the fact that this had occurred, because in my video it was talking about the previous version, and in the comment section the guy commented and it led me to this newer MB Lab naming, as well as the download and information and all that stuff. Let's see, clothing in here. Should be a link here to take us to it. That would be nice, right? But it's not here. So yeah, it's not really that easy to find. They have a lot of different things available for MB Lab. You can actually apply facial controls to the character through using a face rig tool built in, but I haven't figured out how to get that to work. I don't know why I can't figure it out, but hey, eventually I'll figure out whatever is possible using these tools. Let's see. So yeah, I don't see it here in the GitHub location, but let's try this right here, Manuel Bastioni Lab. Click that and see what we can come up with. Well, this is the same thing here. It's probably somewhere hidden over here, but I don't know what it's hidden under. This is the face rig one. This says humanoid. This says material. Let's try this one. See what it does. Nope. This is just Python scripts, I believe. So yeah, let's move on past that. We're gonna do it without clothes. So we're gonna minimize, go back to Blender, and we're gonna merge this guy in without the clothes. He just has underwear, which isn't the best to showcase to your audience, but it's all good. We're gonna go to export, and we're gonna export as an OBJ, wavefront OBJ, and we're gonna send it to that folder that I created for him, or it was a folder that was pre-created, but where I placed his actual textures and stuff in. So we're gonna go to Manuel Bastioni Lab there, and then we're gonna go to export. And I made an error because I didn't title it. I thought it was titled already, but I didn't title it. So we'll do it again. Go to export, wavefront OBJ, and this time it's not gonna be called untitled. It's gonna be called the same name as the guy, test anime. We'll call it test anime 1, just in case if there's any other duplicate stuff in there. So we'll go export OBJ, and when I get there I'll delete the untitled ones, and we're gonna minimize, or not really minimize, let's go to locate it. So we're gonna go locate it. It's in the 3D objects folder or subfolder, and then Manuel Bastioni Lab, and then again. So it's in this folder here. Here goes his textures, anime, body, derm. There goes the, I don't know if this is a this is the diffuse map. This one may be like I don't know what kind of map that is. Displacement map. This is roughness. This is specular map, and subdiv says sub D. Okay, so let's just use this information here. So we're gonna use this test anime file here. This is the OBJ file, and this is the MTL file, which will merge all this data onto Vectary. So we're gonna go to Vectary, and this one is autosave, so I'm not worried about this. We're gonna go and start a new project. So go back to my projects, well, whatever, we can save it or not save it, doesn't matter. because it's already saved. So it should be able to go back to my projects. And my cat is acting silly. This cat, man, we got this stray cat that we brought into our house. He's a white and black cat, and he's really silly. He likes to rip into everything. I'm gonna let him in. Come on, come on, Romeo. We call him Romeo, by the way. He's a lover boy. All right, just close the door. And this thing is not going back, so we're gonna go and we're just gonna force it to go back by just using the Vectary oh, there it goes. It went back to the Vectary dashboard. All right, so we're gonna create a new project, and starting from scratch is most definitely important when you're starting out stuff with 3D, because all that data that you had in the previous session will affect the new session in terms of whatever information that you chose to insert or import. So what we're going to do here, this is how Vectary starts out, with a blank screen. A little bit different from Blender. Blender will start out with the lamp and the cube in the center, as well as the camera. So what we're going to do here, we're going to not worry about any of these differing options that you see here. We're going to go to Menu in the upper left corner and go to Import. And this is where Vectary starts to become pretty powerful, because you can use third-party software. And like I said, you're going to need the premium version to get to import stuff. So in order to get this kind of power, you're going to have to pay, pretty much. Supported formats is GLTF, OBJ, STL, DAY, JPEG, PNG, or SVG. We're going to go to Choose File, and we're going to look for that file. That's why it's important to organize your files. And over time, you're gonna have tons of files, so you want to name everything based on what you can remember, and how you want to remember it. So with mine, I have a Vectary folder, so everything's gonna go into the Vectary folder. We're gonna go and find that Blender folder, and then, oh no, it wasn't Blender, sorry about that. It was Manuel Bastioni, right? So we're gonna find the Manuel Bastioni lab one, and where is that? Let's see, right here. And then go in again, and then go to Test Anime 1 and open it. There we go. So now the 3D object should have been sent in there. If it's too small, you want to zoom in, and you want to scale it out. How you scale it out, you see these little boxes here for the handles of the gizmo. This is known as a gizmo. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to the bottom box and see what you can do with it. Move it in and out, and there we go. There goes the character. I don't know what that was moving. I don't know what that is right there. What is that? I have no idea. That looks weird. Let's move in on it. Let's see what that is. What in the world is that? We don't need that, so I'm gonna delete that. I don't know what it is. Hold on one second. I just double clicked it to separate it from the character, and I'm gonna delete that. Alright, so I didn't need that. This is the character right here, and we're gonna rotate him. Oh shoot, that was his clothes probably. So he's totally nude. That's crazy. Alright, so I think I just deleted his pants. But his pants supposed to come with him on top of his body. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I just did. But there he goes. He actually looks pretty smooth. And I'll not show the bottom portion of the character. That's what I'll do. I'll just rotate it like this and work with it like that. Because some people may, you know, be offended or whatever. I don't know. This is art, by the way, 3D art, so they shouldn't be. We're gonna go in and we're gonna work on the content of the character. How you do that? You go to the actual object. This is like the object folders and stuff. This is the main folder, and this is the file for the 3D asset. You go over here after you select it, not the main folder, but the the lower folders or lower files, I should say. This little it has these little icon right here, that which means that it's a 3D mesh basically. So the file for the 3D mesh, once you click on it, it's going to bring up the options here for transformations, material, and then you can supply data to control the colors and textures and stuff like that. So you got base color, roughness. You can click more options here on Vectary, and then it gives you the options to change the metalness, the reflectivity, the opacity, refraction, emission, normal map, stuff like that, ambient, occlusion. And in order to control these, you can actually add the maps based on what you believe the map should be. So for the base color, that's going to be the diffuse map. I'm going to upload, and it's going to bring up that file folder. It should go defaulted to it, or you may have to find it. So mine is in a 3D objects subfolder of my main folder. Then it's in Manuel Bastioni lab _161, and then Manuel Bastioni lab where I place it at. So now what I have to do is figure out which map that I should choose for it. So we're going to use the test anime body _derm, and this is the actual diffuse map. We're going to click open, and that should supply everything. And do you want alpha channel? Yes, you always want to apply alpha channels, just in case if transparencies are placed into that graphic, whether it's a PNG or JPEG. And now he's outfitted with texture, as you can see, and his eyes automatically come in, which is pretty dope. His eyebrows, everything is done. The only thing it looks like that's not done is his eyelashes. So if you want to fix stuff like that, you probably can click on it. And as you can see, I just clicked on it a little bit too much. We're going to click object, and I don't know if I can click on that, but it may actually be that the render will supply the data where the alpha will be automatically applied after it renders. I noticed that I had that issue sometimes with using Vectary, where if it's not rendered, you won't get the full effect. Sometimes the eyes will be invisible or transparent. So if that's the case, try to render it. And so you're gonna have to go to the test render option or sampling of the render. So hold on one second. Navigation on this tool as opposed to Blender is somewhat similar, but it's a little bit more difficult for me because I'm so used to Blender. So I'm gonna try to render this here. So we'll see what we can do. We go to render, or also you can click the hotkey shift plus the 5 key on the keyboard, and then we're gonna go to start render preview just to see what it's gonna do. So now it's starting the render. Right now it's rendering at a draft quality, so it's not gonna be the best quality, but if you click this arrow, you can drop it down to low, medium, high, and ultra, and then you'll be able to get much higher quality on the render. So let's try high and see what it does, and you'll see the number will move here, and it will try and attempt to render it. You can also click download image, and I believe this is what you can do for free once you have something in there, but you're not really going to get that much out of Vectary if you're using the free version versus the paid version, because in the free version you're limited to what's in the library. So whatever they give you in the library, that's all you get, and that's in terms of your 3D models that you can play with. You can also go to, like, let's go outside of Vectary and go to like free3d.com. You can bring up stuff like this, and then you can learn how to use it. It's really not hard. You just have to get a model that you want, and then you can merge it in. Like, say you wanted this minion model. It's a Blender file, so you're gonna have to merge it to Blender first. $0, doesn't cost anything, so you have to merge it to Blender first. You click download. When you click download, you're not gonna notice where to get it from, but you're gonna have to scroll up to the top. And here it is right here. The file is here. We'll click it. It's going to come in as a zip folder, and you're going to have to go through the same kind of crap of fail sometimes. This one didn't fail. It's good. We're going to open it. Open containing folder. I'm just going to show y'all folks real quick how to get this kind of thing going. If you wanted some other assets to go with your whatever project in 3D that you're trying to create, we're going to go open with, actually not open with, we're going to go to extract all. You have to extract the zip folder for OBJ files, object files. Now if you're doing Blender add-ons, I don't recommend for you to extract it unless you know exactly what you're doing, because Blender accepts Python scripts or zip folders, the actual zip file folders. So we're going to go in to the minion, and this is all the content that's available. This is the Blender file, and this is some of the data for it. So let's go to Blender and see what we can do with that. We're going to scrape this because we don't really need him anymore, because we already created the OBJ file. So we're going to go to General, start from scratch. We're going to open a blend file folder or whatever, but first we have to figure out where we place that character at. So let's just copy all of his content, and we're going to create a folder for him. So we're going to go, or we can copy the folder, it doesn't matter, copy the folder or copy everything, and then make sure you have a folder for him. We're going to go to the Blender folder like we were attempting to do with the Manuel Bastioni one. We're going to right click in a white space and hit paste, and that's going to bring the folder in. If you don't do that and you click on any other folder or right click any other folder, it's going to send it into that folder. So you got to go in any white space that is not being occupied. So you basically got to go over here to the left of the folders or the right of the folders. I usually use the left and right click there, then paste. So now you got the minion there. Now we know where to find it, somewhere in the matrix. We're going to go and we're going to open. Since it's a Blender folder, it should be detected by Blender. So we're going to go to 3D objects, Blender, and minion 10, and see it detects the Blender file, .blend file, and we're going to go to open Blender file. And it says some stuff was missing. I don't know why it came out like that, but this is the way that it was actually done on Blender, whatever version of Blender that they used. So it looks like it eliminated some of our controls because it's an older version of Blender, or maybe it defaulted it to a specific setup. Actually didn't eliminate it. So I'm gonna go toggle this to flip it to the top, so I know exactly what I'm doing. We're gonna go to, wow, look at that, it actually came out pretty good. We went to the render, and this is how the character looks here. So now what we want to do is export. We're going to export as an OBJ file, minion 10 OBJ. That's great. Leave it in the minion 10 folder. That's also great. Export. And then we're going to go over to Vectary. It's that simple. So let's go to Vectary. I'm glad that I'm not going to jinx, I don't want to jinx myself, but I'm glad that the live is still running. Hopefully the live session is still running. Let me check. Yep, the live's still running. Let me use my phone to try to tune in to see if y'all folks have any questions or if you communicated anything about the live session. My phone was off, it was actually charging. So we're gonna go to menu, we're gonna go to import, and we're going to import that file. So we're gonna go to 3D objects, hop around, and go to Blender, the Blender folder, and then find that minion 10. Where's minion 10 at? Right here, minion 10, and here goes the minion 10 OBJ file. The reason why it says DN, that's an Adobe Dimension icon, and this is one of the actual 3D software tools that I started with on my computer. So it basically took over all my OBJ files and it acts as if it's the actual file type, but it's not. That's how Adobe does with OBJ files. So we're going to go to open. Well, most definitely if you're using Adobe Dimension. We're going to go to open, and that should incorporate it. But he's going to be small, like the other character came in. So we're going to scroll that up, and we will try to rotate him the best way we see fit. Looks like he's not in the best orientation with his scene set up. And we will try to scale him into size and move him out of the position of this character, the nude character. But we're done with this character, so we can hide this one so people don't complain about the nudity and all that. And we'll move this character in position, and you'll see how this one works. So now, say I wanted to add all the textures to the minion. It should work out. Let's end this render stuff because it's trying to render. That's going to take up a lot of my computing power. We're going to go to Object, and in the minion folder we should be able to fill up the whole entire screen like we did with the other character. So was this the textures here? I think that was the textures. Let's see, open and see what it does. Nope, that didn't work. So well, let's go back in there and delete that. That didn't work. You can delete whatever you upload in here, very easy. I don't think this is gonna work. It seems like in that Blender folder all the textures were supplied, so I would have to figure out how to export the textures. So that's possible. You just have to play around and get to the noding area and play with the nodes and all that stuff. So now I clicked on the body. Let's go into shader editor, and here goes the graphics here, all the node data. It looks like this Corpo type of file. It's really not that bad. It's just a yellow color, so I could just change his color in Vectary to yellow. So I just select his body and then go to yellow like that. His circle material, there's no default to it. I don't know why it's not changing. It should be changing right now as I go to it, but it may take some time to play with it. Let's see what we can do. Let's try to upload something. See what that does. That didn't do anything. That's weird. Oh, there we go. Alright, so I was on the wrong section, I guess. Alright, so now he got his colors for that. Let's see about the eyes. That eye. That's this here. So we're going to go into the base color, upload, and then there goes the eye. Hit open. Nope, that didn't work. So it's probably just this segment here that is isolated. So let's delete that. And I don't know how that one worked on Blender. I'm trying to isolate the object because if you look on Blender, looks like his eyeball has textures. See that eyeball right there, the single eyeball? So I don't know how the hell they did that. I don't know what they did. Maybe it's behind the object. So maybe I have to move this object out the way. Yeah, it's behind it. And there goes the eyeball. Now I can put in the eye. There we go. So now the eye popped in. Pretty cool, right? And then bring that back. But in order to get that to work, I would have to use transparency. So opacity, change the opacity, but no, it wouldn't work the same. Let's see how they did it. In Blender, somehow they made this material here turn into a glass material. I don't know how the hell they did that, but you can figure it out. You know, you click on this and you see exactly what they did. They use all this shader stuff, and then they supply a gloss BSDF here shader node to the mix shader, and then they have a mix shader here, and they also have transparencies, 2 different transparent nodes, a Fresnel node, and an output. Most shaders will have the material output, and all this stuff just takes time to figure out, but once you play around with Blender, you'll start to get better and better doing different study sessions on shaders and stuff like that. I'm not really that great at shaders, but whatever they did, the magic they did with these shaders pulled off this. So that was pretty powerful that they can do that. I don't know if you can do that on Vectary in terms of this particular area here to isolate just this section. I don't know exactly how that would be done, but you have something similar in terms of these controls. Reflectivity, so I just now changed the reflectivity. I don't know how this glass material was entered, but there could be a way to enter the glass material. Let's see, circle, cube, circle. There's a lot of circle stuff, so that's the eyeball, I guess. What's the cylinder? That's this here. Is that the eyeball again? I don't know. That's this over here. And this is the circle, whatever, of this thing. Would be nice if they had that option, but doesn't look like they have it. Just to isolate that individual part. Nope. So I don't know exactly how. This is the only thing I can do, is make it invisible. We really don't need that part, but it does look cool to have it. So maybe I can manipulate this area. I most definitely can manipulate it using editing. So we go to editor, and then I can chop a hole in it and duplicate the part. Yeah, that's what I can do. I can duplicate this part, chop this part out like a hole in it, if I could possibly do that, and then substitute it with the other part in there, and or try to hide everything else except that part, and then I can play around with that, and then it'll probably look just like it does on Blender. I'll do another video, separate video, just to show y'all folks how you can do all that. But this is pretty powerful stuff, folks. As you can see, it's a lot of things that you can do using Vectary in conjunction with Blender. That's why I wanted to create this video, because it's more like a marriage of the two, and you can just play with both if you want to see what kind of scenes that you can come up with, and the rendering engines are pretty powerful for both. So let's try to get that pink texture for this one, kind of like that, and let's go into the teeth. What color was the teeth? The teeth is, yeah, the teeth is the same as this, so that's fine. How about the gloves? The gloves look like it's a separate texture. Oops. But doesn't look like I can separate it here. So I don't know how they did that on Blender. If you click on it, it highlights the whole entire object. So yeah, and it's indicated as circle 001 underscore circle as the file. So I don't know how they got into the glove separation in terms of the graphics for the glove. But on Blender, you would have to go in again and click that to see how they did it. So they used diffuse BSDF and noise texture coordinate generated with a vector connection and then a fact connection to the height displacement node. That's weird. I don't know exactly how that works and how it would actually pull off just separating the glove from the rest of this texture here. That's pretty crazy. Look at the tongue. The tongue is in there too. So I could try to get the tongue. Can I get the tongue? I don't think I can. Let's see which texture is the tongue. That's the teeth. Nope. I don't think there's a separate tongue texture. Would be nice to get to that tongue, but I don't think there is a separate texture. Nope, there's no separate texture, so, or a separate 3D asset. I don't think I could even get into that asset. So whoever created it on Blender is pretty smart. They know what they're doing. What is this mode here anyway? I don't know why they have this camera mode option. We want to change this out. We're going to change this out to the properties and then change this out to the outliner. Actually, this should be the outliner. So outliner, properties, that's what we want. And we'll check in the properties here. Yeah, they don't give that much controls for certain things. Yeah. So it's just because of the way that they chose to design it. So whoever came up with it, they're pretty smart. So there you go with that. Hopefully y'all folks liked this video that I came up with for the marriage of both these tools. To get the render to showcase on this, I talked about it in my previous session. You can go to render and then you can render out as ultra high quality if you want it. Let's just remove this. We're going to hide it. And say we want to render it this way. We can let it continue to go and try to render. You can use this here to see the indication of it rendering. And you also can do a download image. I prefer the download image option because it's pretty cool. Let me change the background color for this graphic. So we'll go into that first. I'm going to shut off the render right now, and we'll just apply some sort of color to the background. Maybe like a sandy color, sandy desert, I don't know, something like that. And let's try to zoom out a little bit. Maybe leave it like that. And this strap, what happened to this strap? We'll make the strap black. Yeah, something like that. So now we'll go to download it so you can see the render of the download. We can also change the environment texture, which I neglected to talk about in my previous session. In order to do that, you go to library. Let's save. It's going to save it based on the name of the project, and I didn't name it anything. We'll just call it minion test. Minion test. And we'll cancel this and do it one more time. Go to render, download image. It's going to download now as minion test. And what we'll do, hopefully I can complete this live session for y'all folks. Should be able to be completed. Go to library, and we're going to go to environment, which is the options here in library. You go all the way to the back option. You have, let's see what this one is, collections, 3D assets. This is where you get all your 3D assets. You have materials. You can change different materials if you chose for any element in your scene. And then like you can click this object here and then just change the material color. Look at that, it changed everything. So we're gonna do Control Z to back that out. Shouldn't have actually controlled everything, changed everything. It should just be this here. So let's see if it does it now. Yep. So you can play around with your materials that way if you chose. There's a lot of different things you can do. Let's see, you change the material like this, make it a blue background, green, etc. This is a reflective type color, texture, another reflective. And let's try this one. That looks cool. I don't know. So say we wanted to render this out, download image, and it should come up. I don't know why it didn't come up the first time. And then there we go. Save that, and then now we're gonna go to library just to see the difference, and we'll change the background environment or environment lights, which will change the lighting on the actual character. See that? That looks more like cartoony. That's more like photoreal. I like that one. It's not bad. Let's try to render on that one. Download again. And this is your sizing for your export. So you can export based on the sizing of pixel scale if you want. It's up to you. Let's save file. And now we're gonna bring up the test minion. Oh, and I forgot to look at my phone. Man, this thing didn't even come on yet. I'm doing good though. I'm at 83% on my phone. So we're gonna right click and open with, let's just go for shits and giggles. Let's try photos, the photo viewer for Microsoft, and see what it does. Sometimes the photo viewer freezes up. I don't like it, that, you know, for some reason. That's why I don't like it. This thing tends to freeze and doesn't showcase anything that I'm looking for right away. So let me go on YouTube off my phone. This thing is going to take a long time. I don't know why. We'll minimize that. And let's just bring it up. Hold on one second. See if we got some people viewing. Hold on, let me turn this music down. Oh, I just know I missed something good. Good day, mate. Oh, we got LE that showed up. We got Muhammad El Kamlichi. Good day. And yeah, so far we got 2 people that's watching. That's pretty cool. So let's see if that photo viewer came up. Let's see. Look how long it took. Alright, so there goes the graphic right there that I was able to create off of Vectary. And there should be like a little arrow where you can scroll through. Where is the arrow to give me more stuff? Oh, here it is. So here goes the other version with the reflection. And this is the first iteration. So as you can see, you can keep playing around and coming up with higher and higher quality. So it's all depending on your knowledge as to playing with materials and the differing material data that you can manipulate in the graphics interface through the viewport. So you have your manipulations over here on the right, you have your files on the left, and you have your viewport. That's basically what Vectary gives you. You can also edit every element of the material data for the graphics of the 3D mesh. So you can go into the 3D mesh, say I wanted to manipulate the eyeball, go hit edit, and now I can manipulate down to the actual vertices. So I can click on multiple vertices, pull, push, whatever, and reshape how I see fit. If I want to click on multiple vertices, I have to use the shift key just like on Blender, and then select multiple vertices. You can also do mass selections, but for some reason they changed the orientation of where it's at, so you have to go over here where it says select. You can choose marquee, which is like box select on Blender, or you can choose lasso, which is like on Photoshop lasso. And you can also use paint select. Paint select gives you the ability to paint a large area. So you can, but you have, after single clicking it deselects itself, so you want to use the P button to do that. You can use the P button to mass select points. So right here now I'm selecting multiple points, and say I wanted to pull that, I can pull it. And now it's literally pulling the eyeball out of place. And that's just giving y'all folks an example of the modeling side of 3D. So now it looks really weird, right? So we're gonna go to object, and now you'll see that the eye is just pulled out of position, like so. That's pretty crazy. But with the 3D avatar, that might actually work in terms of what kind of graphic you're trying to create. And maybe you're creating it for Instagram, for your Instagram followers, and maybe you want to put in some real cool text in it and bug out like that. That looks pretty crazy for the eye to do that. But that's up to the person who's modeling and what you want to create with it. Hey, we got P. P showed up. What's up, P? I don't know who P is, but P seems like a cool person. Asked me some good questions yesterday, and I apologize for not being able to answer them when I was doing my live, because the live froze. And also I wasn't looking at my phone, but now I'm looking at my phone, so I'm able to communicate. But I gotta go now. Unfortunately, I gotta go because I've been doing this for a while, and also I have to go to work, get myself prepared for work. And that's all I got, folks. Hopefully y'all like this video and my other sessions that I had so far covering Vectary. But this was the marriage between Vectary and Blender. Without Blender, I wouldn't be able to get that actual file, so I needed it. So that's why you would always want to use Blender. And why would you want to use Vectary? Well, Vectary is much easier to bring out your 3D graphics. As you can see, I didn't do too much. Everything is user friendly. It's easy. You don't have to use the node editor or anything like that. You don't have to know how to go into the node editor tool and all these different things like Blender has. Blender has so many more advanced stuff, so you have to understand like how the node editor works, how to use nodes, this is that. If you don't know that stuff, creating the graphics like this person did, whoever created this, it's not going to be easy. Actually, let me credit this person before I leave, whoever created it. Let's go to the free 3D model thing that I got from free3d.com and give some credit to this person, because this person put up some really strong effort to make this thing look cool. So who created it? I don't know. Let's see. Submitted by DISE Graham. So Desi Graham. So this is the person that created it right here. Desi Graham. So far they created only 2 models, either created it or uploaded. I'm not sure if they did one of the 2, but it looks like they created it. They also have this model here. I don't know what that is. It says pistons and crankshaft. And this is a pretty dope website because you can get free 3D models that can be merged anywhere as long as it accepts that file type. If we wanted to get this Lamborghini here, they have an object file for it, so it'd be much easier. You don't have to go to Blender. You can just get it off of this tool, and then all the files will be submitted in a zip folder, and then you can just send it straight to Vectary. That's the other way you can do it. And I'll show y'all folks in another video separate from this one how to do that as an OBJ file. It's very simple. Hit download, look for it, scroll up, and get this zip folder. But sometimes the zip folders will come as a RAR file type, so you have to have a RAR unzip type of tool. So you have to figure out how to get that kind of stuff on your computer if you don't have it. Most people don't have it. I have ZZip and I have some other RAR file handlers that can handle this type of file. So let's try to open it just so y'all can see that. I'll right click. I have ZZip here. ZZip is a really cool tool to use. I also have ExpressZip. Some of them are paid and some are free. I believe ZZip is free. The best option for it, I think, is to use extract files or extract here, but extract files works better. You can also compress and add it to your email. I never did that, but let's go to extract files and see what it does. When you do extract files, you can basically tell it where to send the file to. So I can hit the drop menu here, or hit this 3 tiny dots here and tell it to send it to my 3D objects folder, to Blender if I wanted to send it to Blender, and then just click OK. Or you can make a new folder here as well. So say I didn't want it to be in there and I just wanted it in my 3D objects, and just make a new folder. I can call it free 3D, something like that, right? Hit enter and then click on that one, click OK, and now it's going to send it to my 3D objects subfolder to free 3D. Let's click OK. Now it's going to send it there. I just wanted to add that as a bonus to those who chose to watch my video or watch multiple videos of mine, because I just want y'all folks to see what's possible. And now that one should be handled so that I can open it and I can merge it over to let's see, over to Vectary and place it in here, and he can have a Lamborghini to drive. Not literally, but you know, figuratively, you'll get to see he's in the scene with the Lamborghini. So we go to menu and go to import, choose file, and like I said before in the beginning of my sessions, in order to import on Vectary you have to pay, I believe it's like $9 a month, but I think I'm gonna do it because I make enough tips per day to cover a $9 charge per month. Like, that's really not that much money, and it gives me power, much more power than the average tool, to be able to render stuff really fast, and I can do everything on the fly through my web browser. I don't have to do anything on my computer in terms of it being on my desktop itself. So we're gonna go to, let's see, what was the folder that I called it? Free 3D, right? So 3D objects subfolder, look for the free 3D, which is here, and Lamborghini, and there goes the object file right there, and we're gonna open it. Let's see what happens. Wow, it came in. Look how big it is. It came in and it chewed him up. It's over him. So we're gonna rotate this bad boy, and we're going to bring it up, and of course it's supposed to be larger than him, right? So let's move it to the side. Let's try to rotate it if we can, and then bring it over here and move it up a little bit more with the handles. And there we go. So now we got the Lamborghini. Now we just have to deck it out with some texture. So hopefully that file folder brought some texture in it. So we'll go to, well, let's see, plane, I guess plane. We're gonna go in there, upload, and that shouldn't be what we need. We should have more graphics than just a thumbnail. I don't think this is gonna work. No way. There's no way that would work. See that? Let's delete that because it's not a 3D graphic, UV map type thing. It's not a diffuse map. It's not built for UVs. UVs are basically what you need as 3D data to map across from a 2D to a 3D plane. Hold on, let's see, 2D to 3D graphics, I should say. I don't know. I don't know what happened with the material data that I need for it. But that's neither here nor there. It's not something that's too important because we're not using this for a big time project. Let me see real quick if I could find anything that will work for it. Let's see, let's go into the file, free 3D, Lamborghini folder. And what is this? I don't know what this is. Oh, that's the blend file for it. So I can go into the blend file and then try to get the graphics from the blend file. That's probably why it's not placed here, because it's in the blend file. So in the blend file, you would have to go in and do material transfer information and stuff like that. Just like I said with this one, I never really did that actually to extract the data, but I believe you can do it. Let's see. You have to go to the material node options, not material node, but the material properties. Let's see. Where's the material properties? Here it is. All right, and then try to figure out how to export somehow. Preview. That's the preview of the data. I would have to look up some YouTube videos to figure that out for sure. I could figure it out myself, but that would take a long time. Let's see. Render, file, export. Maybe I could export it as a FBX file and then bring it back in somehow. You should simply be able to export it as a wavefront object, and then all of the data will be transferred. That's generally how it works in terms of any 3D tool, any 3D software tool. But for some reason it didn't work when I tried to send him the first time to Blender. I didn't get all the graphic data, material data that I should have got, which is an MTL file plus the textures. So I don't really know. Let's see, image editor. Maybe it's the image editor. There goes the image editor, and then you would have to find which graphic it is. So here goes the genes, and I'm not getting anything to come up. Well, this one is most definitely in there, the eyes. I don't need the eyes, I already got the eyes. So the rest of them are not image files. Pretty much that's what it's saying to me. So how do you create them off of the node data? That'd be very, very interesting to figure out, but I don't have the time to figure it out. I'm most definitely going to look up on YouTube to find a video where you can get this data transferred to an actual graphic file, image file, and then once you get that exchanged, then you can use it as the data that you need to supply to other 3D software, maybe even to gaming platforms or something like that, because some files come in as just as blend files and they don't give you all the other data that you would get with an OBJ file. So that's just how it is if you're dealing with blend files per se. So yeah, that's it. I'm out of here. I'm gonna end this session with that note because I don't know how to do that part, and this part isn't giving me the data. So other than that, that's all I got. Joy, love, and peace to all. Mike Pugh signing off, folks. Hopefully y'all like this session of the marriage. It's really a powerful thing that you can do with these tools, but you have to know some of the basics, and obviously I don't know the basics to extract from Blender to get this graphic data. But once you get the most the details that you need for it and the graphic data that you need for the materials it will be supplied, and it will look basically the way that you want it to look. Like, I can change the color here like that, but that's really not giving me what I want, you know? So it's just giving me one solid color. I don't want just one solid color. I want high details where the glass turns to glass, the wheels and tires turn to whatever color I want them, stuff like that. But other than that, I'm out of here. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to hit the thumbs up if y'all folks like the video. Feel free to stay tuned to the next ones that I have, next sessions and stuff like that. Yeah, P said no worries. Cool. Thanks for all the videos. You're welcome. I really do appreciate y'all folks for showing up. It is really awesome to be able to do this stuff and also to learn as I go along to try to help y'all folks at the same time. And I'm out. Peace. I think I gotta click F2 to end it.